welcome to Jim's Allotment Garden. So in these next few episodes, there's going to be a number of them. What I'm going to be doing is putting up a recycled greenhouse. Now this greenhouse has got to be, I don't know, somewhere in the region of at least 20 years old. It's had nothing grown in it for at least 10 years to my knowledge. So, you know, so when I picked it up, dismantled it and picked it up, all of the glass and the framework and everything were quite sort of dirty and grubby, and they've had to been cleaned. And what I'm going to show you over the next few special episodes is how to basically recycle an old greenhouse, how to clean it, how to get it all ready, how to put it up, strengthen it, and also, you know, make it ready for the next sort of chapter of its life, if you like. So basically make it as good as new. So enjoy the next few episodes of Jim's Allotment Garden. Okay, so in the coming episodes we're going to be looking at how to effectively recycle a greenhouse. Now, obviously there are many different types of greenhouse. There's aluminium, wood, you know, lots of different types, lots of different shapes and sizes. But what I'm going to be putting up is an 8 foot wide by 6 foot long greenhouse, which has basically been recycled. Now it's almost the same as this one we're in now. So it's an aluminium frame, which is all bolted together, and then you know the glass is put in, so it's kind of this shape, and it's going to be sitting next to this one. Now this greenhouse has been given to me by a very kind friend of mine, and he's had the greenhouse for about 20 years. To the best of my knowledge, nothing's been grown in it for 20 years. Sorry, for about 10 years. Now when I got the greenhouse, or when I went to pick it up, it was all in one piece, so I've dismantled it, taken it all down and brought it back here. And what I've needed to do over the past 2 or 3 weeks, I've been cleaning it basically. So there is some glass missing. So what I'm going to be showing you in the coming episodes is to start off how to do the base, how to build the frame, put all that together and get it all straight, and then how to put the glass in. Obviously there is some glass missing, so what I'm going to have to do is cut some glass. So I'll show you how to do that as well. The one thing that is really important when you're starting a project like this is to make sure everything's really clean. Now when I first got the greenhouse, obviously nothing's been grown in it for 10 years. I don't think anybody steps inside it for 10 years. So all the glass was thick with sort of algae, which is what you get on every greenhouse. And all the glass and all the framework were all kind of coated in it. Now just to give you an example, this is one part of it. As you can see, you know, there's quite a build-up of algae on the framework, and all I do to clean this, and this is the best bit of advice I can give you, is get these little, they're called soap pads, which are basically wire wool. They're typically used for cleaning ovens and things like that, and these are brilliant for cleaning both the glass and also the framework. So all you need to do is wet the framework, wet it and leave it for a few minutes just to let the algae soak in the water, and then wet your wire wool, and just by sort of rubbing it up and down, you can get all of this dirty algae off. What I suggest you do is strip it all down to, you know, the single element. So for example, if I'm cleaning this, I'll take this part is bolted onto this part. I'll take all of these bolts out, take it all apart, clean it, because that's, you can get into all the little nooks and crannies and that, and then clean all the bits off. Any bolts that are on there that are rusted or anything like that, I'm taking them off and replacing them whilst I've got it all in pieces. Now, it's the easiest time to clean a greenhouse when it's in pieces. As soon as the greenhouse is all in one, you know, all in one piece, it's a lot more difficult to get into because of the the glass clips and things like that, it's a lot more difficult to clean it and stuff. So whilst it's in pieces, you've got single pieces of glass, you've got single pieces of framework, you can very quickly clean it up. And this is a piece that I cleaned last night. As you can see, this is one of the corner pieces, and this is cleaned up really nicely. And all I've done is, as I say, is wet it. Got one of these and clean it up. With aluminium doesn't corrode as such. It does slightly oxidise or sort of corrode a little bit, but basically aluminium oxide, which is the like the corrosion on it, is white, and this is like a greasy substance which will protect the aluminium. So what I've done with the wire wool is I've tried to get off all of the green and the black algae which is on there, but what I don't want to do is sort of take it too far down so that the aluminium's shiny. Obviously bits of it where I've been scrubbing it up have gone shiny, but what you want to do is this kind of white stuff that you see in there, that's aluminium oxide. Aluminium oxide will protect the aluminium, so you don't really want to remove that, you want to leave that on if you can. So that's the framework's cleaned up. And the glass, what I've done with the glass in exactly the same way, get yourself a scrap piece of carpet on either a table outside or some kind of surface outside. Put the glass onto the carpet will protect the glass from being snagged on anything, so you don't chip the glass or crack the glass. And then with one of these scouring pads, just wet it and then go over it, the glass with this. This will take off all of the algae and the dirt and everything. Put the glass upright. Obviously it's advisable to wear gloves, or just be careful because obviously the edges of the glass may be sharp, and then go around all of the edges of the glass with this kind of folded over the edge, if you like. Clean all the glass up, and then all you need to do is hose it down, and then you've got a perfectly nice and clean piece of glass ready to go in the framework. So what I've done is all of the glass to go in this greenhouse I've already cleaned, made sure there's no chips in it or there's any damage, so all the glass is good to go back in. That's all now been stacked up ready to go, all cleaned and ready to go. And the framework, I've cleaned by and far the majority of that now with this, ready for the framework to go up. And now I've done that, that's kind of preparation work, ready to put it back up. So now I've got all of that sort of clean, I've just got a few more bits of the framework to go. I can start to put the framework back up. So, but what I advise you, before you start the groundwork to put it back in, if you are recycling a greenhouse, I strongly recommend that you take it all apart to all of its sort of smallest pieces, if you like. Clean them all up with the steel wool, wire wool soap pads, and then that'll stay clean for you from then on in. If you are dismantling a greenhouse, I'm quite mechanically minded, so I know how it goes together, or I could work it out even if I didn't see it beforehand. What might be an idea is if you're going to go and buy a second-hand greenhouse and take it down and move it to your plot or garden, what might be an idea is for you to take a camera with you and take shots of each of the corners of it to make sure you put it back together as it was originally. I've got not a photographic memory, but I know how this goes together, so I didn't take any photographs of it. But what it might be an idea, if you are going to take down a greenhouse, move it and then put it up in a different place, take photographs of it in situ so you know what it looks like and you know where all the pieces go. The other thing you could possibly do is number them, so go around it and number the pieces, so you know which piece goes where. But obviously if you clean it, you're likely to take that off when you clean it. But it's well worthwhile you taking photographs of the greenhouse as it is before you dismantle it. So you can, if you do get stuck, you're not quite sure how a piece goes, you can refer back to the photographs then, and then you can see how it goes. But in the next few clips you'll see me putting the base down and start to put the frame up, and then there's going to be a few more episodes which will probably go on for the next month or so, of me putting the greenhouse up, putting all the glass into it, and me showing you how to fit in windows at the back, which it hasn't got at the moment. So I'm going to fit a louvered window in the back of it where my hand is on this one. I'm also going to put some strengthening in because we get a lot of wind up here. So I want to make sure that the greenhouse stays in one piece, because obviously if that breaks it's going to smash into this one. And just strengthen it all up, putting all the glass into it, and basically taking it from the ground up till a completed greenhouse. So if you've ever thought of getting a greenhouse and you don't really want to spend a fortune on a new one, you want to get yourself a second-hand one and move it, these are going to be some ideal videos or some you know, some good clips for you to watch to get a good idea of how to do it. Okay, so I'm just starting the groundworks to put the greenhouse in. Now the greenhouse is going to be sitting in this location here. It's 8 foot wide, so it's going to pretty much fill everything that's here, and then it's going to be 6 foot deep. So, also judging it from this greenhouse, the back end of it's going to be level with that. So it's going to be as wide as this greenhouse, but not as long. So basically, the end of it's going to be kind of in this line here. So this is the area which is going to basically be inside the greenhouse. Now, what I need to do at the front here is I need to extend the path out so it looks kind of like this on this side. So what I want is for the greenhouse to be sitting on the edge of the slab, so that basically the slabs need to come up level with kind of just the inside of there. Now as it's actually worked out, that's just a bit more than if I put 2.5 foot slab in. So what I'm going to do is space the slab in by a brick, and then I'm going to put a row of bricks down the middle here, because obviously it's much better to have the greenhouse sitting on slabs rather than bricks, because the slab will give it more stability. And what I'm going to do is drill through the base of the greenhouse and screw into the put some raw plugs in the drill and raw plug the slabs, so that the greenhouse is basically anchored to the slabs. So because of the wind that we get up here, it's not going to cause any problems with the greenhouse. So what I'm doing here is I'm just taking up the slabs. I'm going to level this ground off, obviously compact it down just by walking on it, making sure it's all nice and level and stable. And then I'm going to put replace these slabs or turn the slabs round with slabs that are 2.5 foot wide, slightly stepped over, so that the edge of the greenhouse will kind of be in this line here. Okay, so I've got the slabs up to sort of clear the room to put the slabs in this way. That's basically the position of the front plate. So that's the front plate off the greenhouse. I've not stripped it down and cleaned that yet, but basically that's the plate that's going to be there, obviously upright, so the slabs need to go to there. But the one important thing to note is I've taken the slabs up, obviously level the ground off as best I can, and then with a piece of wood, what you want to do is make sure, and a spirit level, make sure that the ground's perfectly level. So when you put obviously start off at one corner and work out from there, make sure everything's level, so that when you put the slabs in, obviously assuming all the slabs are the same thickness, that your path that you end up with is perfectly level, and obviously measure the level both this way and also that way to make sure that the ground's perfectly flat. And then when you put your greenhouse frame up onto top of the slabs, it's all perfectly level, the framework's going to be perfectly straight, you're not going to have any difficulties later. So now I've got the ground level, what I do now is put the slabs in this bit, and then what I can do then is work my way along and then back in. And basically what's going to happen is the edge of the greenhouse is going to sit just on this path like that. So there's going to be quite a narrow gap between the two greenhouses, only sort of about 18 inches gap. The reason being is what I don't want to do is obviously encroach onto the path here, so the edge of the greenhouse will be about there. So I'm going to replace these slabs here with some, obviously that's a 2x2, I'm going to put a 2 and 2.5 in, so then the slabs will come to around here, and then the whole greenhouse will sit on slabs all the way around, and then there'll be a path up the back there with just some 2x2s. Okay, so I've got the first set of slabs in there. As you can see, they're nice and level. So what I'm doing now is going along this back bit now. So what I've done is I've pulled the slabs up, as you can see, and all I'm doing is raking the earth away. Obviously starting at this point here, I need to make sure that all of that is level with that bit there, and obviously at the minute the ground's kind of doing that. So what I'm doing is I'm raking the earth away to basically level the ground, so I know that this is level. Then if that's level, then I can come back to here, it'll all be level, and I'll have a level base to put the greenhouse on. Okay, so that's the basin basically, that's all the slabs. And now what I've had to do, obviously this part of the ground here was dug over this year, because this is where we had the beans and we had some tomato plants in here. So what you need to do is obviously go along the ground with your heels like this, heeling the ground in, and make sure the ground's as compact as you possibly can get it. Then obviously rake it over and then heel it over again, making sure everything's nice and firm. and then rake it again, and keep doing that until you've got a nice solid level ground, and then you can drop the slabs in like this. Now as you can see, these are nice and tight along here, nice and level. I've got to do a bit of fettling here just to get that piece to drop in there. I'm about quarter of an inch or so too big, which is unfortunate, but that's basically the basin. So as you can see, the greenhouse is going to be 6 foot deep, so the base will kind of sit around here on the slab, and then obviously the front will be in line with this one here. Now I've got these gaps here. Now these two 2.5 foot slabs, I'm going to put them down the middle here to make a path. Obviously the door's going to be here, just like that greenhouse there. So what I'm going to do is put those 2 slabs in, so then I've got a border all the way around. Now the ground obviously that I've pulled back to level the slabs here, and obviously here as well, obviously mounded in the middle. Now I've already taken away a couple of barrows full of earth, and as you can see there's still a pile here. So what I need to do is probably take about another barrow load out of there. So you know, it's a reasonably big barrow, so you know, that kind of size of soil. So I'll take that out of there, and then I'll put the 2 slabs in there for the path, and that's basically the base ready. So what the next step is now is to bolt the steel base together in place, so I can drill holes through the steel to correspond with the middle of each slab, because what I'm going to do is put a screw through each of the slabs, or as many slabs as I possibly can do, to anchor it down. I'm going to drill something like a 10mm hole in the plate, and then what I'm going to do is drill a 7mm hole with obviously with a masonry drill into the middle of each slab, raw plug, and then what I'll do then is screw through into that with a washer on the screw. The reason for doing that is I'm going to put it down, and then I'm going to dismantle it again, strip the base down and paint it and get it all ready to put in. But what I want to do is drill it before I start painting it, so I know all the holes are painted and that. And then obviously I'm drilling a 10mm hole, so I've got a bit of leverage backwards and forwards to get it all, you know, nice and straight. And then I can put I've got some movement in there to put the screw, so I can position it quite right. Now the one really important thing that you need to do is to make sure that this is a square and it's not a rhombus. So obviously the way to do that is to measure the length of it and the height of it, and then basically this length squared times that length squared, added together and square rooted, is this length here. Or for example, if this was 4 foot and that was 3 foot, so 4 squared is 16, 3 squared is 9, so add them 2 together, that's 25, square root that, which is 5, so the distance from there to here would be 5 foot basically. So that's the way you can measure it square. Obviously there are other ways you can do it. If you get a piece of a sheet of wood which you know is square, you can put that on the ground and you can see that it's square through that. But basically what I need to do, sorry about the wind, what I need to do is make sure that this is perfectly square before I put the base in, because if it's kind of jigged over so it's not square, it's more of a rhombus, then when I start putting the greenhouse framework up on the roof, none of the glass is going to fit properly. So that's the next thing I need to do. So obviously now I know it's perfectly level, what I need to do now is put the base together, put it in place, and then with the base in place, measure across and make sure it's perfectly square. As soon as I know it's perfectly square, then drill through it, and then drill the holes into the slabs, ready to take the raw plug so I can screw the base down onto the ground when it's all ready. So that's where we are at the moment. Right, okay, so there's the base plate actually in place of where it'll be. Now, rather than drilling the holes up here, I've had a slight change of plan. What I'm actually going to do is just mark on where the centre of each of the slabs are, and then what I'll do is I'll drill it down in the workshop, and then when I come up here to put it in, I'll drill the holes through the slabs then. So all I'm going to do is basically go around, obviously in the middle of each slab here, just mark on there, onto the side, where each of the centre of the slabs are. Now the reason for going into the centre of the slab is obviously when you drill a slab and you put a raw plug in there to screw through into it, obviously that will be a weak spot. Now if you try and put a screw in on a corner, you're considerably more likely to break the slab doing it. If you go into the middle of the slab, you're highly unlikely to do it. So what I would recommend is if you're going to drill down and screw down into a slab, do it in the middle of the slab, and then you're less likely to actually break the slab whilst you're doing it. Now when you're drilling it, a lot of drills have hammer action on the as a feature on there to drill into concrete and stuff like that. I would also strongly recommend you don't use that. Just go and just with a normal drill. Don't sort of use the hammer action, because that can also break the slab. Obviously if it's a particularly tough slab, then you may not have any choice. But anyway, that's pretty much where the base is going to go. As you can see, it's just inside the allotment on this side, but sitting on the slabs. I've got at least kind of 2 inches all the way around. The front and the back are slightly closer together, but I'm not too concerned about the slabs sort of encroaching on the inside there, because I'm not likely to plant anything there on the inside anyway. So that's perfectly good as it is, and the slabs line up this way anyway. So what I'll do now is just go around with the marker pen, marking where each of the centre of the slabs are, and then what I'll do then is take it down to the workshop, drill holes where they are, and that'll be the places where I'm screwing them in. Now obviously this is made of galvanised steel plate, so this will be prone to rusting and stuff. So and obviously this is a recycled greenhouse, so this has already had quite a few years of service. So what I'm going to do is, with these plates, as soon as I've drilled the holes, is I'm going to wire brush them all over, clean them all up and get any sort of dirt off. Then I'm going to give them a coat of primer paint, and then I'm going to give them a couple of coats of exterior gloss, just to protect them into the future, both inside and out. So that'll it'll prevent it from going rusty and that in the future. Okay, so that's the base in place. Now what I've done is I've stripped it all down, wire brushed it, I've primed it with metal primer, and I've also painted it twice with this enamel gloss paint, sort of grey colour. And as you can see, what I've done is I've bolted it all back together loosely, so it'll move about, and I've also bolted back on the aluminium base parts to the greenhouse. Now I've got to be honest with you, what I have been doing is trying to make sure that this is square, and I've measured up to here 4 foot, and I've measured up to here 3 foot, and I've been trying to measure from there to there as 5 foot, and making sure it was square, and it was quite difficult. So all I did is I've got this plate of aluminium here, this corrugated plate, and as you can see, I know this is square. So what I've done is I've basically put it on the corner there, and this is obviously an easy way of doing it, and I've made sure that, sorry my weight's on it there, but you can see if I look straight down that that's level with the edge of this steel plate here. And then if I go over here and look down, I can see that that's level, and so that's most certainly square now. Now I don't know if you can see, but if I look at this end, on the edge of the slabs, that's all nice and level. If I go over here, and if you look at how narrow the slab is there, and then as you go up there it gets wider and wider. Now if you look at this end, it looks like it's actually bent over the side, but if you put this plate over here, it is actually square. So these slabs must be ever so slightly going over. And what I noticed was, if you look at the distance between this greenhouse and the edge of that slab there, and then compare it to the back, like for here example, as you can see it's a lot wider. So this path is actually going off at an angle. So it doesn't matter as long as the actual frame of the greenhouse is straight. But that's why I've got that discrepancy there, because basically this greenhouse here isn't exactly square on the which is throwing your eye. But if you measure from there to there and then from there to there, it's almost the same within a centimetre or so. So that's the base plate in place. Now what I need to do now is drill through the holes that I've made. As you can see, I've made a hole here, which will go into the centre of the slab. There's one there, one there, one there. And so what I'll do now is drill down into the slab, put a raw plug, and then screw through with a sort of 2-inch screw into that, and then that'll anchor it all down onto the ground. Then I can start to build the frame. Okay, so I've drilled through the tiles, as you can see. There's the hole there. So what I basically did is add the frame in place where it needs to be, and then drill through the 7mm masonry drill, and then all I'm going to do now is put in a raw plug into the hole, and all you need to do is just gently with a hammer just tap it in so it's flush with the surface like that, and then you can screw the framework down. Now obviously when you're drilling the slabs, what I would suggest you do, use these brown raw plugs, and you need to have a 7mm masonry bit, obviously you know, with the right end. Don't try and drill it with any other type of gel if you're not used to drilling masonry. You know, you need to have a masonry drill to get through. And then all I need to do now is put one of these raw plugs into each of the holes, just tap it in with a hammer into the hole as I've just shown you, and then I can put a screw through. Now obviously if you're screwing through with countersunk screws like I'm going to, what you need to do is put some kind of steel washer, otherwise the screw will pull through the frame. So what I'm going to do is use these screws, which are slightly longer than the slab is thick, so obviously a little bit will stick out the bottom, it doesn't really matter, and then use a washer like that over the top, so it'll spread the force of the screw onto the framework, so it doesn't, because basically what you could do, if you just put the screw in there to wash, it could potentially pull through that hole altogether. Obviously you're not going to get any strength, so I'll just do that now and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, just one little tip. I don't know if you can see, but the screw here is kind of going at an angle. The reason I've done that is basically so when I'm driving the screw in, as you can see, if you put it upright, then obviously the screwdriver needs to be above it, or the drill or whatever. So if I do it at an angle like that, I can get the drill in there all the way down, and then basically the you know, it doesn't fail the top, because that's directly below this top bit, and if I went straight down, then obviously I'd have to bend the framework to do it. Right, so that's all of them in, as you can see. I've screwed in here, so there's 2 at that side, there's 4 along the front, 1 at the corner there, 1 in the middle, 1 at the back there. So basically every slab I'll go into the middle, so this is nice and sturdy now. Now what I haven't done is screwed in the back. The reason being is when I put the framework together, I don't know if you can see, well if I show you the front first, these 2 basically line up pretty much for the corner, so those 2 kind of line up there, and this one here lines up quite nicely. As you can see, the 2 pieces line up. At the back they don't. This seems to be about ½ an inch out, so what I might need to do is move this back plate back slightly to get the corner piece in. So until I assemble the frame, I'm not quite sure how this back bit's going to work. So at the moment I can move this back plate backwards and inwards, out and in, so I can sort of get the frame right on the top. So what I'll do is I'll now start to construct the frame on top of this, and then as soon as I've done that, I'll be able to see if this is right or not. As soon as I know it's right, I'll be able to drill through in exactly the same way without moving the frame through these 4 slabs at the back, and then I'll just be able to put the screws in exactly the same way through these holes like I did before, and I'll be able to screw this down after. So I've left this bottom bit, this back plate here, unbolted to the floor, and obviously as you can see here, there's some movement there that I can bring this plate backwards and forwards to line this backwards up. But at the moment, until I get the rest of the frame on, I'm not quite sure where that needs to sit. So I've left it like, you know, I've left it unscrewed at the moment until I start to build the rest of the frame on top of this. And then as soon as I've built all the frame on top, I'll be able to go back, drill those last 4 holes, and then screw that in the back. But I'll be able to put it together now with these first 3, the 2 sides and the front screwed down onto the floor. I know it's nice and square and it's the right width at the front, so it's just the back bit there will give me that bit of adjustment if I need to, as I'm putting the framework up. So I hope this episode was of some use to you. Please don't hesitate to put any comments or questions you've got below, and I'll always get back to you. Now, this is the first in many episodes which are going to show you how to take the greenhouse up from ground level right the way up to putting the last piece of glass in. So do keep watching. Further episodes will be coming very shortly. But from me and Dorothy for now, it's bye from Jim's Allotment Garden.